The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies sub-distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons. Hello, welcome to the West Ham Massive. Thanks for joining me. Please don't forget to drop a like on this stream and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hit the notification bell and click all. Any new content that's added, you'll be notified straight away. So you joined me on the dog walk, November the 1st. It's a little bit grey, it's a little bit overcast, a little bit damp, pretty much what you'd expect for the first day in November. Obviously we've got the game against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup coming up later tonight. I'll get onto that in a moment. First thing I want to discuss, and again I want to get your opinions on this, so you've got a comment section down below, get stuck into that. Really like to know your opinions. So yesterday it was announced that Vanessa Gold, who is basically now the beneficiary of the shares of her late father David Gold, who was the co-chairman of the club alongside David Sullivan for many years, and obviously then that followed shortly thereafter the sad passing of her sister, David's other daughter, Jacqueline Gold. So obviously Vanessa now finds herself in charge, if you will, of 25.1% of the equity in West Ham United, and yesterday she let it be known that she would like to sell a portion at least of those shares. As things stand at the moment, the other major shareholders are Daniel Kretinsky on 27% of the equity and 38.8% of the equity lying in the hands of the aforementioned Mr. David Sullivan. So I don't know exactly whether she's looking to sell. I believe it's just a portion of her shares, but I guess it largely depends upon any offer that's put on the table as to how much she might relinquish, or whether she might actually decide to move on the entire 25.1% of the shares that she holds. And it sort of like makes it quite interesting, because of course, will it be, and I don't know whether there's any first refusals on this or that, but if Daniel Kretinsky obviously manages to get his hands on another 11.8% plus of a shareholding in the club, he would then become the majority shareholder and the chairman of the club by virtue of that fact. Now, is that a good thing for the club? Is it a bad thing for the club? I guess no one really knows, and we'll only know in time. I think it's fair to say that David Sullivan, in his time at West Ham, he's done some good things, he's done some not so good things. I think the common consensus is that probably some fresh impetus, some fresh ideas, some fresh investment wouldn't be a bad thing for the club. But it depends upon who comes in. It's the old thing, isn't it? Be careful what you wish for. So if the person coming in, whoever buys these shares, What are they going to do? What's their end game? Be an interesting to see how this unfolds. Of course, you know, will the shares go one way or the other? Will it go towards Sullivan? Will it go towards Kretinsky? Will it go towards someone that maybe isn't even connected with the club at this precise moment in time? And as I say, if they maybe make Vanessa Gold an offer she can't refuse, she's saying she only wants to sell a portion of the shares. Depending upon the construction of any offer that she's given, it might be that she gets the whole 25.1% shareholding moved on. And whoever is the recipient of that becomes quite a powerful figure in the club. Not the majority shareholder, not the chairman, but they would have quite a bit of influence. And depending upon who they are and what their motivations are, would that be a good or bad thing? Time will tell. So let's get down to it. Tonight, West Ham United, Arsenal, Carabao Cup, and in all likelihood this will be the return of Declan Rice to the London Stadium, where he strutted his stuff for a good few years and achieved quite a lot, I think it's fair to say. Me personally, now unfortunately I won't be there tonight, but if I were, I think I'd find it in my heart to give him a gentle round of applause. I wouldn't be jumping up and down. I wouldn't be shouting and screaming. I sure as hell wouldn't boo. That's just me. I think he deserves a better reception than that. And I think that we are, as a club, contrary to what I read in a Sky Sports article yesterday, generally we are a club that receives returning players who have done well by the club in a positive fashion. I think of the likes of Tony Cottee, the likes of Carlos Tevez, the likes of Joe Cole, and various others down the years. There have been some others that have not been received so well. Paul Ince, for example, Jermaine Defoe, Frank Lampard Jr. But there were things that they did that were the reason why the West Ham crowd didn't take too kindly to it when they returned to where they once plied their trade. Now, for me, Declan Rice came to us at 14 years of age. He was a lifelong Chelsea fan up to that point. Came through our academy, made his debut in the first team under Slaven Bilic, and was given an opportunity, grabbed it with both hands. 6-7 seasons as a first team player, developed from a centre-back into defensive midfield, and gradually sort of morphed into a box-to-box midfielder as well. Established himself in the England setup with his national team, got to the European Championship final, and was our best player in my opinion, up to the point that Gareth Southgate took him off. Back to him in a claret blue shirt, 3-time Hammer of the Year. He was effectively our captain for 3 seasons. Yes, he was only in fact our club captain for the last season that he was with us, but for the previous 2 he was the captain for most of the games that we played, because Mark Noble's career was winding down at that point. So, and in his last game he lifts a European trophy. Now, I don't remember seeing anything in any media outlets where he gave any sort of negative comments to West Ham in the way that I sometimes saw other players, the likes of Frank Lampard, gave, either as they're leaving or in the wake of them departing. Some people have looked at certain comments he's made about where he's been particularly glowing about Mikel Arteta and the coaching and all the rest of it, and they've taken that as a little bit of a negative. I don't see it that way. I mean, look, I don't like it, but Arsenal Football Club are a bigger club than West Ham in terms of a number of things, principally their finances, so they can afford better coaching, better facilities. Let's be honest, the facilities at Rush Green weren't up to much, so probably when he's turned up at London Colney, that was probably quite a shock to his system, and not a negative one at that. So, Personally, I don't have a problem with... I don't see what he said as revelatory. I think, to be honest, it's probably the truth. We just don't want to hear it, but in our heart of hearts, we probably know that what he's saying is actually correct. Now, it then got me thinking, because there's been a number of things I've seen out online, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying that people that want to, give Declan a bit of stick are wrong. Everybody's got to walk their own path in life. But for me, I find it quite interesting that some of these people that want to give Declan Rice a bit of stick are the same people that when Carlos Tevez came back in a Man United shirt, in a Man City shirt, and even after he retired and came onto the pitch at London Stadium a couple of months ago, they give him a hearty round of applause. And I get it, I understand why. But I also do question, he played 29 games in a claret and blue shirt, and I was there. Probably for 2/3 of that, he didn't really contribute much. It was only in about the last 10 games or so that he really sparked. He came alive, scored goals, and obviously memorably scored that goal on the last day away at Old Trafford that secured our place in the Premier League for another season. But really, in those 29 games, did he do more to deserve a good reception than Declan Rice, 3-time Hammer of the Year, club captain, the guy that lifted a European trophy in his last game? Did Carlos Tevez actually do more in 29 games than Declan Rice did in 245? Because I don't believe he did. So by that logic, should Declan not expect a decent return to London Stadium? I'm not saying we roll out the red carpet. I'm not saying we, sing his songs like we did when he wore the claret and blue of our beloved club. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that I would be very, very disappointed in the club. And this is just my opinion. I'd be very disappointed if the fans there on the night were more vociferous in their boos than in their appreciation, their polite appreciation. I'm not saying, like I say, jump up and down, woo, Declan Rice, wow, brilliant, we love you, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not what I'm saying. Gentle round of applause, and once that's done, once that's out of the way, once we've said our thank yous and our goodbyes, if you will, we then carry on with our lives. He is then an Arsenal player. He is trying to knock us out of a cup competition, and we're going to do the same to him. And that's it. We move on. That's my opinion. What's yours? You might disagree with me. You might think to yourself, actually, Declan, I think, has shot his bolt with me, and he's not going to get any more appreciation. He's had it in his time with me, with the club, from me, and that's me done. Like I say, I don't know who's right, I don't know who's wrong. I'm not for 1 minute saying I've got all the answers. So that's why there's a comment section below. Get stuck into it, tell me what you think. As always, guys, thanks for joining me. If you're new around here, don't forget to drop a like on the stream and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you know it makes sense. We'll see you soon. Come on, you Irons.
The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham fans and friends inspired by the work of other football food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for a Newham food bank in Beckton, who supplies 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thanks for your support. Come on, you Irons.